Hey boys and girls, Chris here. In this tutorial we're going to talk about alternative tone mapping options that are available to us all if we're looking for more photorealistic and this technique not to call attention to itself. But first let me remind you of why it is so important to capture all the tonal range. Here's a picture that I captured manually. And what I want you to do is I want you to keep the eye on this histogram over here in the right top corner as I scroll through these. You see it moving to the right, and see I'm not satisfied with just getting in. I want to move that information over far enough so it is the healthiest part of the histogram. Four, five, six, seven. So it took 7 frames here to gather all the information that I thought was pertinent. So this is an important note I wanted to hit on. So let's go back to this image here, and let's just shift select these, and let's do the export to Photomatics, and we'll do we'll call this EF test, and I won't go to deghost, and I won't do any of this just for the interest of time because we want to get into the tone mapping. So we'll go export. This was taken on a tripod. So it's going to bring up Photomatics, and we're going to look at a couple of Photomatics tone map operators that are less surreal, less hyperreal as far as what they portray in the final image. Now keep in mind we could be keeping a 32-bit intermediary file, but I don't find that overly conducive, as we'll talk in this last movie when we talk about Photoshop and the final touches, about keeping it flexible and keeping your files lean. I don't personally believe that bringing in individual layers and masking them and then merging down is the way to go when you're trying to stay flexible. So here we're in tone mapping now. And you can see you're getting pretty good renditions, but it's accentuating the noise. Like if I click on this, I can see how much noise is up in the sky. A little bit of noise down in the water, and not too bad as far as in the subjects. So, but that is a tone mapping with a details and answer. We're going to go to Exposure Fusion, and in this one we're going to use the new real estate. Exposure Fusion comes in natural, intensive, average, and so on and so forth. Real estate and natural are very nice options. I find the real estate one the best, and we're going to kind of accentuate the highlights a little bit, bring them up, shadow detail back, open up the shadows a little bit more, decrease localized contrast, maybe increase the saturation a little bit, and the highlight depth will bring back a little bit. Now all of these things, all of these issues here, these aspects, these sliders, are easily best described by just taking them and pushing them to the far left and far right to see what they do. So we want to work visually when we can. So this is going to be a tone mapped image that once we save it and re-import it, it's going to come back as an Exposure Fusion real estate image. Now you can see it's still kind of flat, but here we maintain the integrity of our workflow. So you can see here in Lightroom that we should be building back a TIFF file that comes back in as an EF file. And it's not the best, but here we have it back in Lightroom now, which is convenient, and I can develop it right here. I can use my brush, I can change the contrast levels, I can open it up a little bit, I can do some vignetting, I can do anything that I want to do in Lightroom, as well as taking it to Photoshop. So this is another way that we can merge the file right in Photomatics, do some basic tone mapping, and take the file back into, as a 16-bit file, into Lightroom to be either finish process in Lightroom or move from Lightroom to Photoshop. Now you can see that the noise is still evident in the sky, so we can use the noise reduction features in right here in Lightroom to remedy that. So either way, what we're trying to do here is maintain, we're starting off in Lightroom with the 3 captured pictures. We're going up over here and we're merging them in Photomatic, export to Photomatic, and we're tone mapping it right in Photomatic. So we're not managing the 32-bit file. It's really not a lot of need to do that. And then we're looking at getting the final file in here. Now this has got very little, if any, enhancements done to it in Lightroom. So I could, I could back up the exposure, I could increase it, I can increase the saturation. These are global effects that I'm putting on the image, and I can also paint some of these things in to get a better rendition. I can also go and bring a little vignette to help bring the focus of the image in. And here I'm getting more closer to a finished image in this respect. In this last movie, we're going to talk about the final touches brought about in Photoshop.